I'm Norman from Landscape Sales in Flurio, and today we're in Woodside to show you how to construct a rabbit-proof fence. So why would you want to build a fence? Not everyone needs a fence, but a fence can be a handy option, especially if you're very restricted to baiting. Not everyone can bait, people are concerned about their pets or even their kids. So a fence can be a really good solution, and especially a long-term solution.
I think going to the sessions that Landscape's been having, and you begin to learn about the devastating impact of rabbits on Australia. And so we all love Australia, we love the native bush, we love the creatures and all this stuff. And you really begin to realize we would have quite a different springtime bouquet of flowers on the ground if we didn't have rabbits, but they get to them before we get to see them.
Pretty much the biggest part of the fence is up now, and we're pretty happy with the result. We decided to go in for a big farm gate, which is 2.4 meters wide, which helps you in the future to take a car trailer in here. If you want to change the soil after a while or bring some new dirt into it, it makes it easier in terms of access. Sometimes a big problem is with gates that you have a gap underneath. So our solution is to overcome that gap, to put a sleeper in the ground, and the wire goes right down to the ground, which will be packed down because this gate is just there for once in a while access. It's not for all the time. In terms of height, the fence itself is 1200 high, or the mesh is 1200 high. 30 or 300 is buried in the ground, slightly outsloping, so that the rabbits, if they start digging here, that they feel the resistance straight away and turn around. We decided to go for a wire mesh of 40 mil, which is very common to get at your rural hardware shop. So pretty much we decided that we want to build something that's long lasting. So we went for some really solid droppers. These droppers are 2100 long, and they are treated as well, so they should last a long time. The droppers, the star droppers, are spaced out depending on the situation, so they're a bit smaller here on the short side. But normally we go for spacing between, on the long side, 2 to 3 meters. The droppers itself are 1.65 meters tall and are really solidly in the ground. So we started to roll out the finer mesh. The finer mesh is like an Avery mesh, and in this case we decided to go really fine. So it's recommended to go at least 30 mil, but this one is even smaller. This one is like a 25 mil mesh. And this mesh just has to be up another 300 and goes into the ground, or can be packed down as well. Because we already got that thicker mesh going into the ground, we just decided to pack this one into the ground. So you can use metal packs, but you can also use some rocks on top. But if you want something that would last a long time, you're probably better off to pack it down properly and inspect it regularly. So the wire, wire goes actually into the ground and gets buried down here. So it's slightly slopes outwards, and we have about 300 mil in the ground. Here we got a sleeper, which really helps to make sure that the gate shuts properly and that there's no gap so that rabbit can come in. We went for 3 tensioning wires, so we got one at the top, one in the middle, and one closer to the bottom. This will help to prevent the fence from sagging over time. So if they should sag for some reason over time, you always got that possibility here with a ratchet wire strainer to put more tension on it, which is very simple. Just use your shifter and just put a bit more tension on. So it's just like easy to clip your fencing wire onto the high tension wire. So we just use normal little clips, which should hold in place for a long time. Before you put up a fence, always consider that a fence can have a big impact in terms of movement for especially wild animals. So make sure that you pick a spot where wildlife actually can maneuver around, because that side is obviously locked out for a long time, and we want to make sure that the wildlife can still roam around freely. The fence won't keep out birds, possum, mice or foxes, but it will keep out rabbits and other rabbit-sized animals that are not good climbers. It's built to protect your garden from rabbits. It's not built to keep kangaroos out, but it might deter them. This fence is obviously constructed to a really high standard. But for any other landholder who wants to come up with a different solution, there are heaps of different options. So instead of putting big strainer posts in, you can go for maxi strainers, which are way easier to put in. These strainers are concreted in, but maxi strainers are easy to put in as well for the mesh and for the droppers. You can obviously use materials which you already got on your property. And if you even got an existing fence, you could just clip a finer mesh to an existing fence to keep the rabbits out. Having a good access gate for the everyday use is obviously very handy. We went to that extent to put another gate in, a big gate to get cars and trailers in to cart dirt in and out, but that's something you don't necessarily need. So just make sure before in your planning, what do you really need? What do you want to create? What's the need? Do you need to bring in a car or a trailer? Or are you just happy with a small access gate where you can take your wheelbarrow in? A well-built fence will last you for years, especially if you check it regularly. Check for signs of digging along the fence line, any damage in the fence, and that will help to protect your garden for a long time.